Daniel Carter quietly closed the lid of the cardboard box resting on his desk. Inside were 11 years of memories. A framed photograph of his late wife, Sarah. A small wooden carving his daughter, Lily, had made in art class. A coffee mug with the words, "World's Best Dad." A notebook filled with ideas he had hoped to bring to the company one day. Outside his office, employees hurried through another busy Monday morning, completely unaware that one of the company's most respected managers was leaving for the last time. Daniel didn't make an announcement. He didn't send a farewell email. He simply smiled at everyone he passed and quietly continued packing. 5 years earlier, life had looked very different. After Sarah's passing, Daniel had become a single father overnight. Every decision he made afterward centered around one person, his 10-year-old daughter. He turned down promotions requiring constant travel. He declined executive networking dinners because they conflicted with Lily's bedtime. He even changed departments so he could leave work early enough to attend every school performance. Some coworkers thought he lacked ambition. Daniel knew better. Success meant never missing the moments that mattered most. When Lily won her first spelling competition, Daniel was there. When she cried after struggling with math, he sat beside her until she understood. When she whispered every night, "I miss Mom," Daniel never pretended to have all the answers. He simply hugged her. Together, they learned how to heal. Meanwhile, Daniel quietly became one of the company's most dependable leaders. He solved difficult problems, mentored younger employees, stayed calm during crises. Whenever departments argued, Daniel somehow found common ground. His team trusted him because he never sought attention. He always gave others credit. For years, executives praised his performance. They called him dependable, reliable, essential. Yet promotion after promotion went to louder voices. People who presented better. People who networked more aggressively. People who took credit for team accomplishments. Daniel rarely complained. He believed hard work eventually spoke for itself. Then everything changed. The company hired a new executive vice president, Marcus Holden. Young, confident, ambitious. Within weeks, Marcus announced a complete restructuring. Departments merged. Budgets changed. Longtime employees suddenly found themselves defending years of successful work. Daniel attended meeting after meeting explaining why certain programs protected customer relationships and employee morale. Marcus listened politely, then ignored nearly every recommendation. "We need bold leadership, not comfortable routines." Daniel replied respectfully. "Change isn't the problem. Change without understanding consequences is." Marcus smiled. "We'll have to agree to disagree." Several months later, profits initially increased because of aggressive cost-cutting. The board applauded Marcus's strategy. Employees, however, noticed something different. Experienced workers resigned. Customer complaints increased. Deadlines slipped. The workplace became tense. Daniel quietly documented every concern while continuing to support his team. He refused to criticize leadership publicly. Instead, he focused on helping employees adapt. One Friday afternoon, Marcus called Daniel into his office. "I've reviewed your department." Daniel nodded. "So have I." Marcus slid a folder across the desk. "We're eliminating your position." Daniel looked at the document. There was no anger on his face, only quiet disappointment. "My position? We're creating a new leadership structure. Your responsibilities will be divided among 3 directors." Daniel understood immediately. One of those directors had joined the company only 4 months earlier. Another had previously reported to him. The third happened to be a close friend of Marcus. "I see." Marcus leaned back confidently. "I know this isn't easy, but organizations must evolve." Daniel closed the folder. "When does this take effect?" "Today." He thanked Marcus for the opportunity to serve the company and calmly walked back to his office. There were no raised voices, no dramatic speeches, no accusations. He simply began packing. His assistant entered with tears in her eyes. "This can't be happening." Daniel smiled gently. "Everything ends eventually. What matters is how we leave." One by one, employees stopped by his office. Some offered hugs. Others thanked him for years of encouragement. A young analyst admitted, "I stayed with this company because you believed in me." Daniel shook his hand. "You earned every success yourself." Late that afternoon, Daniel carried the cardboard box through the lobby. No security escort. No celebration. Just a quiet walk toward the exit. As the glass doors opened, he paused for one final look at the building where he had spent more than a decade. Instead of sadness, he felt something unexpected. Peace. He realized that his value had never depended on an office, a business card, or a job title. Those things could be taken away in a single afternoon. Character could not. With one last smile, Daniel stepped into the sunlight, unaware that this silent departure was not the end of his story, but the beginning of discovering his true worth and a future greater than anything he had left behind. The following morning, Daniel woke before sunrise just as he always had. For the first time in 11 years, he didn't need to rush to the office. Instead, he made pancakes for Lily. She noticed immediately. "Dad, aren't you supposed to be at work?" Daniel smiled as he placed a plate in front of her. "Not today." She looked worried. "Did something happen?" Daniel sat beside her. "I don't work there anymore." Lily was quiet for a moment. "Are you sad?" Daniel thought carefully before answering. "A little. But sometimes life closes one door so another one can open." Lily reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Mom always said you're brave." Daniel smiled. "I think she was talking about us." After taking Lily to school, Daniel returned home instead of searching for another job immediately. For the first time in years, he had space to think. He opened the notebook he had packed from his office. Inside were dozens of ideas the company had rejected over the years. Employee training programs, leadership workshops, business improvement strategies, community education projects. Ideas he had never stopped believing in. His phone rang several times that week. Former coworkers called to check on him. Some offered encouragement. Others admitted they were thinking about leaving the company too. One young manager said, "I learned more from you in 2 years than from anyone else in my career." Daniel thanked him. "Then promise me something. When someone new joins your team, teach them the same way." Meanwhile, inside the company, Marcus celebrated another successful restructuring. On paper, everything looked efficient. In reality, problems were beginning to appear. Without Daniel's quiet leadership, departments stopped communicating effectively. Projects missed important deadlines. Experienced employees resigned one after another. Clients who had trusted Daniel personally began moving their business elsewhere. Within 3 months, customer satisfaction dropped to its lowest level in years. The board demanded answers. Marcus blamed the economy. Employees quietly knew the real reason. The person who had connected everyone was gone. One afternoon, Daniel received an unexpected invitation from the local community college. A professor who had once attended one of Daniel's internal training sessions asked, "Would you consider teaching a weekend leadership course?" Daniel accepted. He wasn't sure where it would lead. On the first Saturday morning, 15 students filled the classroom. Instead of beginning with management theories, Daniel asked a simple question. "What kind of leader made the biggest difference in your life?" The room immediately came alive. People shared stories about teachers, parents, coaches, supervisors. Daniel smiled. Notice something? No one remembered a title. They remembered how someone made them feel. The course became so popular that the college added additional sessions. Soon local businesses invited Daniel to train their managers. His practical approach, listening first, leading with humility, and helping others succeed, resonated with people far beyond the classroom. A year later, Daniel and 2 former colleagues founded a small leadership consulting company. Their mission was simple: help organizations build healthy workplace cultures instead of merely chasing short-term profits. The business grew slowly but steadily. They worked with schools, nonprofit organizations, hospitals, and family-owned companies. Unlike his previous job, Daniel now controlled his schedule. He never missed Lily's school concerts. He attended every parent-teacher meeting. Every Friday evening remained family movie night. One autumn afternoon, Daniel received another phone call. It was the chairwoman of his former company's board. "We owe you an apology." She explained that Marcus had resigned after several failed initiatives. The board had completed an independent review of the restructuring. Many of Daniel's recommendations had proven correct. "We'd like to offer you your old position back." Daniel thanked her sincerely. "It means a great deal. But I'm afraid I have to decline." There was a brief silence. "May I ask why?" Daniel looked through the window of his office. Across the street, Lily was finishing an after-school robotics club meeting. She waved when she saw him. Daniel smiled and waved back. "I finally discovered something." "What is that?" "My worth was never tied to one company. And the life I've built now lets me serve people without sacrificing the moments that matter most." The chairwoman understood. "I wish we'd realized that sooner." Several months later, Daniel was invited to deliver the keynote address at a regional leadership conference. Standing before hundreds of executives, he shared the lesson that had transformed his own life. When I lost my job, I thought I had lost my purpose. I was wrong. Sometimes what feels like rejection is simply life redirecting you toward the place you're truly meant to be. When we measure our value only by titles, promotions, or offices, we give other people the power to define who we are. But when we build our lives on integrity, kindness, and service, no one can take our true worth away. The audience rose in a standing ovation. That evening, Daniel returned home to the small house where Lily waited with homemade cupcakes. She had written one sentence on the kitchen chalkboard. "Welcome home, Dad. We're proud of you." Daniel smiled. He realized that no award, promotion, or executive office had ever made him feel as successful as those simple words. People remembered his story because he quietly left a job where he had been overlooked and eventually found greater success elsewhere. But those who knew the whole journey understood that the greatest new beginning wasn't the business he built or the recognition he later received. It was discovering that true worth comes from the character you carry, the people you lift up, and the family waiting for you at the end of each day, not from the title printed on a business card.